Now, Wave News at 5.
The system don't work for the innocent. It works for the guilty. The criminals get more rights than the...
Armond Langford was supposed to be in prison Friday after being convicted of robbing 19 people over a 4-month crime spree in 2021, but he never actually went. We thank you for watching Wave News at 5. I'm Myra Ansari.
And I'm Brian Schlonsky. The man accused of kidnapping a family on Friday, then driving them to a bank and robbing the drive-through teller appeared in court today. That is after, though, he refused to show up twice. The judge addressed that matter with our cameras rolling.
Can you all come back in a couple hours?
We may not be able to, Your Honor.
Okay. Well, I know that there's people on Zoom, so I'm not going to bring him in here if it's by all means necessary, because it could be very disruptive, and so I don't want a courtroom full of people, especially not being handcuffed. It could be a melee.
Well, Langford did appear about 2 hours later. He was eventually brought in by 4 corrections officers. He's charged with robbery, kidnapping, and assault in connection to a home invasion turned bank robbery that took place on Friday.
And police say that he kidnapped a mother and her 2 children at their home before forcing them to drive to the PNC Bank on Shelbyville Road. LMPD tells us that he then robbed the drive-through teller before running off, leading to an hours-long search before he was arrested. The mother was stabbed during the incident, but the children weren't physically hurt. The judge kept Langford's bond at $1 million and ordered him to home incarceration if that's posted.
Instead, his lawyer convinced the judge to place Langford on probation last summer and then release him from a halfway house where he had been staying.
And now Wave News reporter Mark Stevens says that one of his prior victims believes that Friday's kidnapping and bank robbery should have never happened. It's a story that you'll only see here on Wave.
Yeah, Dolores Ezell went to every court hearing for Langford that she knew about. She agreed with prosecutors that Langford should have been sent to prison. Langford robbed Ezell at this Chase ATM at 26th and Broadway in 2021. She only came back today after we called to ask about the robbery. She says she made her selections and was waiting for the ATM to return her bank card at 3:30 in the afternoon when suddenly Langford grabbed her arm and pulled it back as he grabbed the card. Ezell says she bit him as she struggled to keep the card. He let it go because the machine spit out her money. He grabbed it and ran. She watched for a second and then gunned her car's engine to run him down, actually hitting him. But he was able to run away before the police arrived. At the hearing, Ezell says his family pleaded with the judge for mercy, and she says the judge listened.
She was talking about what a good child her son was and how he promised he was going to do so much for her. But they wanted him out on probation, so that's what they got.
Ezell says she didn't connect Langford to the kidnapping and robbery on Friday until we called her. She checked her paperwork and called her daughter, eventually realizing it was the same man. Now, Ezell says she hopes judges pay attention to this case as a warning. She says she feels horribly for the mom and children caught up in Friday's crime. Mark Stevens, Wave News.
All right, thank you, Mark. So in addition to the story you just heard there from Mark, Langford is also accused of committing several other armed robberies. In fact, police say he admitted it to them after his latest arrest. We're going to take a closer look at those crimes ahead at 5:30.
A fallen tree branch shattered the windshield of a school bus just as kids were heading home today. J-Town police say that bus 1764 was headed down Watterson Trail when the incident happened. It had just left Concord Elementary School. JCPS says around 10 kids were on the bus when the tree branch fell and then hit the windshield. The district is praising the bus driver for their quick action.
Now, the bus driver, very professional, got the kids off very calmly. Some of the kids, I think there were about 10 kids that were impacted. 7 of them had like little minor cuts and bruises. A couple others had like glass in their hair. The bus driver had some glass in her hair and on her body, but everybody's fine. Nobody's being taken to the hospital.
And parents were reunited with their children at the Watterson Trail Church of Christ. Ford CEO Jim Farley calls it the company's most radical change since the Model T. The automaker will spend nearly $2 billion to retool its Louisville assembly plant to build EVs or electric vehicles.
Wave News reporter David Mattingly finds that the goal is making EVs cheaper to build and to buy.
Ford has been talking about building electric cars at the Louisville assembly plant since 2023, and that day will be arriving soon. The company managed to keep it secret for years, and we still don't know what it will look like. But Ford calls it a universal EV platform. More than just a new electric vehicle, it's a new way of making them.
It represents the most radical change on how we design and how we build vehicles at Ford since the Model T.
For the Louisville assembly plant, it means shutting down for 8 to 10 months, possibly beginning in December. The plant will undergo a $2 billion retooling that abandons the traditional assembly line. Union leaders say initially the number of jobs at LAP could drop by 1,000, but no one will be unemployed.
We're confident that we're going to come back with the workers that we have, and everybody will have a job. Everybody will have a place to work. You know, there might be some transfers, you know, from plant to plant, but we know that everybody's going to have a job.
When LAP gets rolling again, Ford will introduce a new EV midsize truck. Farley frequently invoked the legacy of Henry Ford in creating a way to mass produce affordable and profitable electric vehicles. Competing head-to-head with China, Farley said the company is betting that sales of the new Ford truck will benefit from assembly innovations and a smaller, cheaper, more efficient battery.
The only way to compete with them is innovation. You're not going to beat them. You got to get close on cost, but then you have to apply the innovation. That's what we've done. That's our bet.
And it will be a winning bet only if customers buy in. Farley said the as yet unrevealed truck will have more interior room than a Toyota RAV4 and accelerate just as fast as the Ford Mustang. The new trucks will be rolling off the assembly line here in 2027 at a base price of $30,000. David Mattingly, Wave News.
All right, let's get to your forecast now with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harned. Looking outside today, kind of see a little bit of sunshine coming there, but it's been gloomy.
Yeah, it has been kind of a gloomy setup. It's hot again. Kevin Harned joining us now to walk us through what we can expect the rest of the evening.
Yeah, hot, and it stays that way really the rest of the month, it looks like. We've got temperatures in the low 90s now. We've bumped to 93 in the last hour. We're sharing that with Jeff just across the river. It is among the warmest around. Tell City and Owensboro there as well. Everybody else knocking on 90 degrees door, just above or just below by a degree or two. As far as the satellite and radar view goes, we've seen a tremendous amount of clear skies across the viewing area. A few downpours off to our east. Those are closer to Lexington and outside of our viewing area. So for us, mainly dry. The chance of rain, small, and it will continue to drop into the evening. Can't rule it completely out. There could be an isolated downpour, which is why we account for the 10 to 20% rain chance. Temperatures overnight will drop into the mid-70s. That's as low as we'll go. So it'll be a warm and muggy night tonight. We do have a better chance for some of these scattered storms tomorrow. Going to put a timeline on that for you. Give you a look to the rest of the 10-day forecast as well. Just a few minutes away.
All right, we'll see you then. Thanks, Kevin. A Southern Indiana man accused of killing his wife enters a not guilty plea during his first court appearance. Stephen Gower is charged with murder. Earlier this month, Charlestown police responded to a call that Gower placed where he told dispatchers that his wife, Christina, had committed suicide. Police say Gower told officers, though, to take him to jail after they arrived. An autopsy also revealed that the gunshot that took Christina's life was fired from more than 3 feet away. That means she couldn't have taken her own life. Gower pled not guilty in court today. He's being held in the Clark County Jail on no bond. He's due back in court on September 16th.
The Justice Department reaches a settlement with the nation's largest private landlord that could mean relief for renters. Greystar, which owns apartment units in Louisville, was sued for manipulating rental prices to charge renters higher rates. The company is now banned from using the technology that helped them do it. The DOJ says that Greystar used algorithms and shared sensitive information to raise rents by illegally plotting with other landlords. Greystar admitted no wrongdoing in the settlement, but has agreed to a court-appointed monitor. A federal judge still has to approve the settlement.
Major upgrades at the KFC Yum Center could lead to road closures that will impact you if you're traveling around downtown. The Louisville Area Authority is investing more than $13 million into this center, starting with improvements to the roof. The 250,000 square foot roof will be fully replaced. It's expected to be completed ended in December. This will not impact any of the U of L games or the concerts. However, road closures could pop up during construction. The renovations are part of an improvement project to celebrate the arena's 15th year in operation this October.
JCPS will have to cut $150 million from the budget over the next 2 years. One area that won't be touched is funding for students with English as their second language. We're going to take a look at how the district is addressing needs amid cuts ahead at 5:30.
Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back. We're taking it back.
Plus, President Trump sending the National Guard to the nation's capital in an effort to tackle crime and homelessness. We've got the details from Washington on the new executive action next.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Now, Wave News.
President Trump says he is placing Washington police under federal control. It's a move that he says he's making to fight crime and make the nation's capital a safer city.
But the Metro Police Department and the Justice Department says that violent crime in the city fell to a 30-year low. At the same time, the president is trying to find a way to do something that he promised to do on his first day in office, is end the war in Ukraine.
NBC's Monica Alba has those details from Washington.
You remember I said I offered 10,000 once. Remember
President Trump declaring a public safety emergency in the nation's capital. Today announcing he's sending National Guard troops to the streets of Washington, D.C., claiming crime is out of control.
This is Liberation Day in D.C., and we're going to take our capital back.
He also federalized the Metropolitan Police Department temporarily after a former DOJ employee was attacked, according to a police report. The president said he would notify Congress about the decision, but gave no specifics for how long he would overtake the police department, though he would need joint approval from Congress if it lasts more than 30 days.
You'll be so happy because you'll be safe. When you walk down the street, you're going to see police or you're going to see FBI agents.
But statistics from the Metro Police Department and the Justice Department contradict the president. An MPD report shows violent crime is down 26% from last year. Homicides are down 12%. Critics point out that the president didn't immediately call in the National Guard when rioters attacked the Capitol on January 6, 2021.
Who city?
Our city. Outside the White House, D.C. residents made their disapproval known loud and clear. The president saying he may implement the D.C. plan in other cities. The mayor of Baltimore firing back, calling today's announcement a distraction, and writing Trump should be focused on, quote, the roller coaster of the economy thanks to the president's policies. As the president seeks to fight crime in Washington, the White House is also preparing for his meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin Friday, standing firm that Ukraine and Russia may need to swap territory to come to a peace agreement.
Russia's occupied a big portion of Ukraine. They've occupied some very prime territory. We're going to try and get some of that territory back for Ukraine.
Though Ukrainian President Zelensky insists he will not cede his country's land.
President Trump says President Zelensky was not a part of the planning for this meeting. And today, the German chancellor invited world leaders, including President Trump, to a virtual meeting before Friday's summit to discuss the peace negotiations and pressing Russia to end the war. Monica Alba, NBC News, Washington.
Today, a federal judge denied the Trump administration's request to unseal grand jury materials from the Ghislaine Maxwell sex trafficking case. The Justice Department has sought to release grand jury transcripts and exhibits from the case involving Maxwell's associate Jeffrey Epstein. The judge released a scathing opinion that said unsealing the materials in Maxwell's case is not a matter of historical or public interest. They also said that the material is already public and has been after being presented during Maxwell's trial in 2021. Maxwell is serving a 20-year federal prison sentence for helping Epstein groom and sexually abuse underage girls. Epstein died in prison in 2019 while awaiting trial on sex trafficking charges.
Well, there's always something going on in the Highlands with events up and down Bardstown Road. Now, those living nearby are testing the theory, how loud is too loud?
In the forecast, we're tracking heat that builds in later this week and for the weekend. Timing good for the state fair, right? We'll go through that. And in the meantime, in the near term, some scattered downpours that appear. We'll show you the forecast for your Tuesday hour by hour when we come back.
Here's a look at the current Kentucky Lottery jackpots. The Kentucky Lottery, funding education for over 1 million Kentucky students.
Well, the Highlands will be all the way turned up tonight. Not the people, but the volume. You know a little bit about being turned up. Well, musicians will be bringing in their instruments and playing them as loud as they can go. It's part of a community sound study meeting happening tonight at 6 at Big Bar on Bardstown Road in the Highlands. Kevin's looking over like he wants to get turned up.
He wasn't sure if you were talking to him or me.
No. Well, the area known for the vibrant nightlife has earned a series of noise complaints, and the purpose for tonight's event is to see how sound carries and impacts people living nearby. There will be time to talk about concerns and future policies with District 8 Councilman Ben Reno Weber.
Soon we'll be up to our ears in funnel cakes, the lemon shake-ups, and all your favorite carnival foods at this year's Kentucky State Fair. The fair will kick off at the Kentucky Expo Center this Thursday. This year's theme is All Things Kentucky, all in one place. The fair promising to highlight traditional favorites like the Texas Roadhouse concert series, livestock shows, and competitive entries. The fair runs from August 14th through the 24th. You can grab your tickets ahead of time. That will save you a couple bucks on parking. You can also come and hang out with Myra, Kevin, and me, along with all the rest of the Wave crew at Wave News Day at the fair. It's set for Tuesday, August 19th. From 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., you can stop by, talk, take pictures, grab some free swag. We'll be inside, away from all the heat, in South Wing A.
And it's always fun to be at the fair. And we know that it's fair time when you look outside at the Midway and you see all of the rides getting set up. Many of these trailers are set up and then they're in place, ready to welcome the flood of people that's going to be there starting on Thursday. Right now it's pretty hot, 90 degrees. We're dealing with that. It's going to stick around for this week.
Well, before we get to all the fair stuff, Kevin, we got to address, look who's back. You know, after a week. Speaking
of turned up.
Yeah. Well, she's been back for 5 minutes and we're not safe.
Yeah, it's true, right?
That's how I'm supposed to keep it over here. Keep you guys in line.
We're so happy you're back.
Yeah.
Well, let's not put too many adjectives in there.
Okay. At least I know I am welcomed by one person here.
Yeah. We'll see you.
We love you,
Missed you too, Kevin. Missed you too.
Now they're rushing us. It's not me that's moving on. It's Sydney is like, come on. Hey, you mentioned the state fair. Obviously, this goes hand in hand. That means the heat has to intensify, right? You betcha. We've got this heat building in late weekend for the weekend that will put us close to as warm as we've been this season, mid-90s it looks like. So that heat will be intensifying across the Great Lakes and really the whole eastern side of the country. If we put some numbers on it for you for the state fair, it'll look something like this. Of course, it runs for the 10-day span, 14th through the 24th, and our temperatures Thursday at 90, increasing Friday 94, Saturday 95. Rain chances are a little higher on that first day on Thursday, and then fading as we go into the weekend. All right, I'll go through those days another time in the 10-day coming up, but let me get you outside. For today, a partly sunny sky. We've had a few downpours off to our east. It's 93 right now, so it is hot outside. It's not too humid, but it's very summer-like. This is what we would typically expect for this time of year. Lots of low 90s, a few upper 80s, a few downpours off to our east, spreading anywhere from, say, Georgetown down to Lexington, Nicholasville, working toward Willisburg and Harrodsburg. So a few places in the eastern part of our viewing area have actually had a little bit of rain today, but many, in fact, most of us have stayed dry. The unsettled weather's across the southeast part of the United States. A few thunderstorms that have been strong to severe are lined up along the boundary out to our west. That moves a little closer to us tomorrow, and that gives us some scattered storms in here. A few of those could be strong, so it's not a zero chance for strong storms, but it's not overly impressive. Futurecast. Take a look. Tomorrow morning, just a few clouds. By afternoon, we see a few of these downpours developing. A few of those could be strong. We'll press those through here and wind up seeing some dry time Tuesday night into early Wednesday, but by Wednesday afternoon, we do it again. Hey, it's back to school tomorrow for so many. The Catholic schools in Louisville are headed back. E-Town Independent, Bullitt County, Trimble, Marion, Hart, Louisville Collegiate, Taylor County, and in Indiana, South Harrison Community. Temperatures for the ride in mid-70s. Storm chances are low at lunchtime, 85. We'll keep a scattered storm chance 30% for the ride home. Increase that to a 40% by late afternoon. So you may want to take the rain gear in addition to the water bottle. Right now it's 93. The heat index 95. Our temperature tonight will be dropping only into the mid-70s, so it's a warm and muggy night for us, partly cloudy. Tomorrow bounces back near 90. It's a hot and humid day with those scattered storms. Here's the 10-day earliest alert. We mentioned the lower 90s for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Higher storm chances at that point, but still scattered, 30 to 40%. And then we'll push those temperatures into the mid-90s with lower rain chances for the state fair beginning. And back into the 80s perhaps by mid to late next week.
Nice. We'll get that fall weather back we experienced for just a few days about a week or so ago.
Correct. Yeah, it looks good.
All right. Thanks so much, Kevin.
Yeah.
Well, it's the talk that no one wants to have until it's too late. Coming up next, we're going to learn some simple moves that can save your loved ones from legal battles and financial strain after they're gone.
It's a conversation most of us put off, but avoiding it can leave loved ones with stress, debt, and heartache.
In this Watching Your Wallet, consumer investigator Rachel DePompa shares how a few simple steps now can protect your family's future.
It's something we don't ever want to think about, but it's so important to have this conversation with your spouse, parents, and loved ones in case someone is close to passing away. Having an estate plan is important. Stoy Hall, the founder and CEO of Black Mammoth, a financial planning and wealth management firm, says first and foremost, get a will.
They're relatively inexpensive, easy to do, and that person who is dying can dictate what happens with their assets, right? Whether it's my kids get this, my other family gets this, I'm donating X to charity. And regardless of the amount of assets or money you have, do this, please.
He says this will help your family avoid probate, and it helps you make sure your wishes are met and your family doesn't end up fighting. Also, he recommends getting life insurance.
My mom didn't have a lot of money. She didn't have any money assets. I think she left me a car, and that's it. We sold it for $3,000. But she had over $150,000 of life insurance, which allowed me, my family, my boys to pay off our debt and to go invest into properties that now, maybe by the time I die, is worth 3, 4, 10, 16 times that. That's generational wealth for us.
Hall says the earlier you get a policy, well, that will help you set yourself up for success later down the road. Even if it's just a minimal policy to help you cover the cost of a funeral so your family doesn't have to rely on a GoFundMe page. With this Watching Your Wallet, I'm Rachel DePompa.
Well, they sometimes find their way into your shopping cart, maybe on special occasions, maybe you buy them for yourself when you need a sweet treat. Now, there's a recall out for one brand of sugar cookies.
Oh, I love those.
Packages of Favorite Day bakery frosted sugar cookies sold at Target usually have been recalled. The FDA says the recall issue is over the potential for possible wood pieces found in the cookies. The recall includes more than 800 cases of the cookies sold in both Kentucky and Indiana. This includes cookies in 10-count and 13.5-ounce packages. Well, JCPS has 21,000 multilingual students in the district. You are going to hear how the district is making changes to accommodate those students and the staff who serve them.
Now, Wave News at 5.
We continue to monitor new details from Friday's violent crime spree that left a family and a neighborhood traumatized. Armond Langford was in court today after police say that he kidnapped a mother and 2 children and then robbed the PNC Bank in St. Matthews on Friday.
Today, I spoke with the lead robbery detective on this case, who says a crime like this is rare and shocking. But what appears to not be shocking at all is the fact that Langford is the one accused of committing these crimes. That's because detectives say he admitted to more violent robberies after he was arrested. Court papers say Langford held up a Dixie Highway Walgreens at gunpoint in 2018, did the same thing minutes later at a Circle K. 2 years later, in 2020, court papers say he robbed someone at a McDonald's on Broadway at gunpoint and pistol whipped a bystander in the head. Those newly admitted crimes are in addition to the robbery spree that Mark Stevens investigated earlier in this newscast from 2021 when Langford landed in prison. As for the victim in his latest case, police say that she's recovering and there was nothing she could have done differently to have prevented what happened to her.
I think she did everything right. She did what she could. There was nothing she could have done different to change the outcome of this.
Langford was finally in court today, flanked by 4 officers after refusing twice to appear before a judge. The court entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. His bond is set at $1 million.
And the Wave troubleshooters have documented previous judge decisions on shock probation cases that have raised questions. Mayor Craig Greenberg has addressed his concerns before against violent offenders who are arrested after release. Here's what he had to say when he spoke about the issue 2 years ago.
Do you have any concerns about the judicial system's role in keeping the public safe?
Improving public safety in Louisville is certainly a team effort, and the judicial branch and judges play a key role in that effort. And that's why the chief and I have had many conversations with judges and will continue to have conversations with the judicial branch about how we can partner together.
All judges are prohibited under judicial ethics from commenting on any case that has been pending or may be before them.
All right, switching gears now, we want to check back in on your forecast here. We have had Kevin watching the heat and just tracking some storm chances, too.
Yeah, Kevin, we need some rain.
Yeah, we're starting to. You're right. You know, we've had so much early on. It was like, man, it'd be nice to get a break. We got a break. Now it's like, we need the rain. And we're going to see some. Now, that doesn't mean for everybody. There's still scattered downpours, but it will be increasing for tomorrow and Wednesday over what we've seen today. There's beautiful Bardstown under a partly to mostly sunny sky. Calm wind. The flags are not whipping around too much. Temperatures have generally been upper 80s, low 90s across all of our viewing area. That's the case across all of Kentucky and much of Indiana for that matter. Low to mid 90s persist back to the west of us too. High pressure in control for us, keeping most dry. We've had a couple of downpours just across our far eastern counties, more likely over into the Bluegrass region, closer to Lexington. I'll zoom into that for you and you'll notice Louisville dry, but working your way just to the east of Frankfort, near Lexington, over toward Georgetown, a couple of downpours. Temperatures are going to be falling tonight back into the 70s region-wide. We'll be one of the warmer places at 75. So our slide goes from the low 90s now through the 80s this evening and into the mid-70s by morning. We'll talk about the scattered storm chance for your Tuesday, give you a peek to the 10-day forecast, which has some very warm state fair weather temperatures included. We'll go through that in just a few minutes.
Sounds very state fair. All right, thank you, Kevin. While JCPS leaders anticipate cutting more than $150 million from the district's budget within the next 2 years, they're allocating extra money to help support a growing population within the district.
At the end of the last school year, JCPS had about 21,000 multilingual students. Wave News reporter Fernando Garcia Franceschini joins us live from outside Jacob Elementary School. And Fernando, JCPS leaders say that they are trying to stay ahead of the anticipated growth in the community.
Yeah, that's right, Myra. I spoke to the principal here at Jacob Elementary. She became principal 7 years ago, and when she first stepped into that role, she tells me there were about 5 multilingual learners in her school. Today, that community makes up about 40% of the total school population. So that just gives you an idea as to how rapidly this community is growing, not only in this school, but within JCPS. And because of that rapid growth, the district is allocating $3.8 million of its annual budget to help support multilingual learners. Schools can use that money for things like additional staff or more devices for language support, for example. The principal at Jacob tells me her school has used the money for staffing purposes.
I have 4 full-time ELD teachers on staff that push into the classrooms to provide scaffolds and supports in the classroom to help them learn, or might pull them out for specific language acquisition skills that they may need.
Wagner says there are 22 different languages spoken here at Jacob Elementary School. Now, district leaders say they will have to make some tough decisions in the next coming years when it comes to budget. However, they say they are committed to meeting the needs of multilingual learners, and that could include even allocating more money for the 2026-2027 school year. Reporting live at Fernando Garcia Franceschini, Wave News.
ICE is making changes to recruit enough agents for its increased deportation efforts. We're going to tell you the age group that's now eligible for a job.
Plus, some nursing homes in Louisville and across the country are suing the family and friends of the residents who stay there. We'll investigate as these nursing homes are trying to get money for unpaid bills.
This newscast is sponsored by Morgan & Morgan, America's largest injury law firm. Now, Wave News.
There's a warning tonight for any of you who have a loved one who's in need of a nursing home.
Our national investigative team found some of these facilities are aggressively pursuing family and friends of residents for their unpaid stays. It often involves paperwork signed during the admissions process.
National investigative reporter Chris Nakamoto spoke to families who were left blindsided by bills and lawsuits as attorneys sound the alarm.
Elizabeth Bovenzi put her family first, which is why it was so difficult when her dementia progressed. The insidious disease forced her family to house her in a nursing home in Rochester, New York. Her daughter, Toni Cook, signed this agreement for her mom during her admission. The line where she signed her name reads resident or power of attorney, even though she was neither.
When she was admitted, she came in with Medicaid and Medicare, and they assured me that her bills were going to be being paid by these two insurances.
Without hesitation, she signed those documents. Her mother lived for about 6 months until she died in November of 2024. Months later, her death delivered an unexplainable blow.
I went to the mailbox and I had an $80,000 bill from the nursing home. A few months down the line after that, I got a process server knocking on my door, serving me with legal papers that I was being sued.
Unknown to Cook at the time, the documents she signed were used against her, with the nursing home saying her mom never applied for Medicaid. So Cook was on the hook for her mother's unpaid bills, with the total coming in at $170,000. Cook had to get lawyers to help, challenging the nursing home's lawsuit, saying the admissions agreement does not include language, making it clear that she would be held liable for her mom's finances. Her lawyers also fired back, saying this process is unenforceable under federal law, which bars third-party guarantees of payment as a condition of admission.
The federal law bans nursing homes from pursuing other people for a resident's nursing home bills. But unfortunately, nursing homes have gotten cleverer and cleverer as they have sort of looked for ways to try to find someone to pay for these outstanding debts.
Our national investigative team found these debt collection lawsuits are becoming increasingly common across America, well documented in states like New York, New Jersey, Indiana, Kentucky, Ohio, Alabama, Washington, D.C.
It ripped open a deep wound.
Lynn Marie Witt also ran into trouble after signing these documents to admit her mother, Joan Januszewski, into a nursing home. At the time, she was living in her car and says she was stressed signing the papers.
I remember asking at the time, because I didn't understand what I was signing, does this make me responsible, financially responsible? Because at the time I was homeless and had a lot of issues, and of course I didn't want to take on financial responsibility. And she said, "Oh no, absolutely not, honey. It will be covered."
It just eats at you. I'm thinking, do I have to claim bankruptcy? You know, what are my options? What are my choices?
The American Healthcare Association represents the majority of nursing homes in the country. They wouldn't do an interview, but told us these types of lawsuits are not common practice, and we're urging caution that highlighting it could be very misleading. In 2024, the National Consumer Law Center and Justice in Aging reported that more than half of elder care advocates in 27 states said they had seen lawsuits against third parties, with as many as 20 cases filed in their states.
If you sign one of these documents, even though there's a federal law that bans holding you responsible for the resident's debt, it could still mean that the nursing home is going to, down the line, try to sue you to try to collect those bills from you. And that's not some situation you want to find yourself in. So make sure you read the documents carefully.
As Cook and Witt reflect on what happened, they're speaking out so others aren't left blindsided.
So neither attorney for the nursing homes responded to our requests for comment. In both cases, the facilities dropped their lawsuits after Cook and Witt received legal help. The nursing home dropped the case against Witt due to her financial hardship, and the lawsuit against Cook was dismissed after Medicaid applications were filed. Since both were dismissed, no court ever addressed whether the daughters could be held responsible for their mother's debt.
You can help those in need during your next visit to the grocery store. We're going to tell you what Kroger is doing to fill our local food banks.
In the forecast, I'm going to step out to the weather garden. It's warm today, but it gets even hotter down the road. Between now and then, a few more scattered storms. We'll track those for your Tuesday forecast when we come back on Wave News at 5:30.
Here's a look at the current Kentucky Lottery jackpots. The Kentucky Lottery, funding education for over 1 million Kentucky students.
All right, we are checking back in on the forecast now.
Oh, there he is.
That I was about to say.
I was waiting to the last minute, standing in the AC.
Yeah, strolling in, getting turned up there in the commercial break.
Yeah, we kept you too long in here. Sorry.
Clearly, someone is sad that they're back from vacation, and she wishes she was on the beach again with a margarita or whatever it was.
We can't catch a break, man.
Getting turned up.
You better be careful out there.
They're like, you can't keep it. I'll take it right from you.
I fell asleep way too many times at the pool. Like, it was pretty bad. So.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you. Great to be back with you all.
Pool-like weather here.
The fountain doesn't quite get it, but it's close enough on hot days like today, I guess. I spent part of the weekend at the pool, too. Good time to be there when you have these temperatures in the 90s, and that's where we stand now. 93 coming in from the airport. Feels like 95, so we don't have a huge difference from the actual air temperature versus that heat index. Humidity values are not all that high, 39%, dew points in the mid-60s. We're going to see that edge up, though, just a bit, and that's going to make it a little more uncomfortable later in the week and for the following weekend, which, by the way, is the first weekend of the state fair coming our way. Allergy report today. Well, it's in the medium category. It's the grass pollen that we have to deal with. That could go down a bit by Wednesday, so we'll be looking forward to when we get into the low range of things. Meanwhile, we'll settle for the medium. That beats the high and the very high range. All right, patio forecast tonight. If you're sitting outside, sure, it's warm. It's supposed to be this time of year, right? A 20% storm chance. We've had a couple of these blips on the radar. Temperatures ease back through the 80s this evening, and we're going into the 70s, and we'll hold there overnight tonight. So it's a warm and muggy night. That's how we'll begin our Tuesday. Well, let's start with temperatures around the area. 93 Louisville, one of the warmer readings, but we're not alone there. Owensboro's there, Tell City's there. Jeff has been there, but they're now down to 91. A lot of upper 80s, a lot of low 90s showing up. Satellite and radar view, yeah, it's not quite a clean sweep. We see those downpours off to our east where we've had a few showers and thunderstorms. Moving east of Frankfort, now north and east of Georgetown. Most of those are starting to fade away, and the fading trend will continue. So we'll keep it mainly dry tonight. Still a few clouds may linger into early tomorrow. Notice the time, late afternoon, early evening tomorrow. Scattered downpours appear. Those will be pushing past the area, fading, and then returning again by Wednesday. So we've got a couple of rounds of storms. Here's Wednesday. Morning is dry, sort of a rinse and repeat pattern. Downpours develop in the afternoon. A few places get the needed rain. Others are like, hey, over here I could use a little. Unfortunately, I'm not going to guarantee rain for everybody out of this. The southerly wind will pull that moisture ahead of the front, so we see at least an enhanced chance for some of the downpours tomorrow and Wednesday, but it's still scattered. Heat will build in as rain chances go down late week into the weekend. Highs then will be in the mid-90s. We're not far from that now. 93, the heat index feels like mid-90s. 75 tonight. It's partly cloudy, a warm and muggy night. Tomorrow, hot and humid again. The temperatures will be near 90. The scattered storms develop, so we'll have a few more clouds around tomorrow. That keeps our temperature maybe a degree or so lower than today, so we'll say low 90s tomorrow. The 40% storm chance tomorrow, anywhere from mid-afternoon into the early evening, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 o'clock. That's our peak chance, 40%. And then the 10-day earliest alert, scattered storms again on Wednesday, highs near 90 again. Same story on Thursday. Rain chances start to go down as the state fair begins, and temperatures will be hot for the weekend, but there is hope for some cooler temperatures. That would be thanks to some tropical moisture working in here. We may go back into the 80s for an extended stay mid to late next week.
I think folks are working their sprinkler systems overtime now with how dry it's been, Kevin.
Yeah, for sure. Needed it.
Thanks.
Okay.
We want to get you over to some breaking news right now. Sad to report that one person is dead after a crash that happened in Oldham County. Police say it was just after noon near the intersection of US 42 and Bracken Lane. Police say the driver ran off the road and hit a tree. That person has been identified as 53-year-old Brian Ray of LaGrange.
Well, you can donate jars of peanut butter to your local food banks, and it's part of Kroger's annual peanut butter food drive. Peanut butter is ideal because it lasts a long time and it's a good source of protein. Now through the end of the month, you can buy a jar and then put it in the donation bins located inside the store at your location. 100% of all donations will go to Dare to Care food banks. Right now, food banks across the nation, they are facing critical shortages due to a combination of increased demand and decreased supplies. We'll be right back.
At least one person was killed. 2 others are unaccounted for after explosions this morning in the Pittsburgh area.
It happened at U.S. Steel Factory in Clairton. Search and rescue efforts are underway for people who are trapped at the factory. The health department is also on site to monitor the air quality. Air quality monitors have not detected levels above federal standards, and people who live within a 1-mile radius of the plant, they were advised to remain indoors, close all the windows, and set HVAC systems to recirculate out of caution.
Members of the Texas House of Representatives were once again unable to reach a quorum today. This comes after Democrats fled the state last week in order to hinder a Republican-led redistricting effort. That effort could potentially result in another 5 U.S. House seats during the 2026 midterms. Absent lawmakers are subject to a fine of $500 a day. U.S. Senator John Cornyn has asked the FBI to help state police track down the absent Democratic legislators.
U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is now hiring people over 40. Homeland Security says that it needs thousands of more deportation agents. So it's removing previous age restrictions and then opening up its doors to applicants of all ages, including seniors. The agency's recruitment website features Uncle Sam with a tagline that says, quote, "America has been invaded by criminals and predators. We need you to get them out," end quote. Well, we thank you for joining us here on Wave News at 5.
Wave News at 6 is coming up next.